Before we get started today, I just want to show you guys that I'm trying out some new products this week. I'm trying out Lucky 13 tattoo products. This is like tattoo aftercare kind of stuff. I'm going to try it for a couple of weeks, as long as I have this stuff, and I'm going to give you guys my honest opinion about it. I'm going to keep it 100 with you. I'm not going to tell you to buy something if it's crap. I haven't opened it yet. I just got it a day ago, but that's something I'm trying. What I did, I actually got the little expert package, a little starter kit. So you get a tin of tattoo balm just like this. You get a little tattoo balm stick. I think it's the same product. It's just in stick form, so you can kind of roll it on like that. And then for you guys out there with fresh tattoos, there is a tattoo cleanser. All natural ingredients in these for all you vegans out there. If you guys want to try out the Lucky 13 tattoo products, I'm going to give you guys a discount code. If you type in Big Jones Big Life at the checkout, you guys will get 25% off. You're welcome. So I want to give you guys an update on what's going on with me professionally. If you've watched my my very first podcast, actually, where I talked about PLD and MedBoard and all this stuff, I think back when I first started my podcast, I only had a couple of weeks left in the military. Well, that has drastically changed now. So let me just back it up. When I started my podcast, I was up for what they call PLD, or permanent limb duty. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. But I was up for permanent LIMDU. So for those of you not in the military who are lucky enough to not know, LIMDU is basically where you are on sort of a probationary period following an injury, where they give you, it's usually 6 months to basically get well again before you're ready to go back to active service. So, you'll get LIMDU if you get a really bad illness, or if you're in a really bad accident. Like for me, I had a blood clot in my leg. That's what sparked me going on LIMDU and ultimately going up for MedBoard in the first place, of which I was ultimately found unfit for duty. So what I requested what I requested in PLD was to be able to basically stay at my present command through my PRD, or projected rotation date. Now, your PRD is basically where you would be up for orders and go to a new command. So I basically asked to be able to stay in the military and make my end of service date my concurrent with my PRD. So, and it got approved, and it was not easy. I don't know if any of you guys are out there going up for MedBoard for whatever reason, or if you're trying to stay in and finish out your 20s. But if you're not familiar with the PLD process, this is basically what it is. And this is all secondhand information that I've gotten from other people who, are obviously a lot closer to the process than I am. But what I've been told is that PLD is basically a program that they use when someone is really, really close to retirement and they just need some time to get over the hump. You guys remember that movie Under Siege with Steven Seagal when he's on the ship, and then, turns out he's a SEAL and a bunch of crazy stuff happens and he shows he's got all these skills? Well, somewhere in that movie, Gary Busey and Tommy Lee Jones are talking about him, and they basically say, the captain brought him on board the ship so he could finish out his 20. That's kind of like what PLD is. They never use the term PLD in there, permanent LIMDU, but that's kind of how it works. Like, a friend of mine right now is going to be up for PLD because he was in a really bad accident. He's at 17 and a half, almost 18 years. And, I mean, how bad would it suck to be that close to retiring, and then you can't retire because, you're hurt, you're injured, and you basically have to go on the disabled list instead of finishing out your 20 and getting your pension? That would suck. I mean, to put in all that time, all that effort, all that sacrifice, and anyone will tell you who's been in for any amount of time that it's a huge sacrifice, not just to you, but to your family, and if you have kids and your friends and your parents, everybody sacrifices something when you go into the military. So, I guess you could call it a gift. I mean, I don't understand why they wouldn't, someone who's that close to completing their 20 years of service. I don't know why they wouldn't just push them over the wire like that. In most cases, I mean, when I went up for med board, this was the first I'd heard about PLD, so I don't know how common it is. I don't know how many of you out there know someone. Maybe they didn't talk about it, but it seems like it happens a fair amount. But anyway, so what I'm just gonna go back to the beginning when I first realized, because I fought med board hard. I was like, this can't be right. They put me up for med board for my blood clots. I fought it. I appealed twice. I had a really good lawyer. Andy, if you're listening to this right now, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much. I had a really good civilian lawyer who went to bat for me. We sat and we talked for hours, exchanged emails, and, got people to write letters. And I sent all these things to him, these letters of commendation that I'd been receiving from the command and all this stuff, basically showing that, hey, he's a good sailor. He's a good guy. He's squared away. He makes rank. He passes his tests, all this stuff, So we did everything that we possibly could to fight the med board, but it just wasn't going to happen. In fact, during the med board process, one of the people that were on my panel even told me that if they'd known that I had a issue with blood clots in the first place, I wouldn't have even been eligible for military service. So that to me kind of sealed the deal. Like, they're basically saying that it's a miracle that I even made it this far to begin with. So, who could have possibly known? I mean, it's funny because if I had joined when I was like 17 or 18 right out of high school, I'd have been retired and they never would have known. So, it is what it is, but that's not what this is about. So we're talking about med board. I basically, the day that I realized that, it is what it is, you have to accept it, as hard as it was, I went in, I signed the paper saying that, yes, I'm not going to fight this any further. I'd basically gotten everything I'd asked for at that point. What I really wanted was to make sure that I was able to get medically retired and not medically separated. And for those of you who don't know, the difference between separation and retirement is that when you retire, you still get a pension. You still get some money, coming toward you out of your base pay, so you get that percentage. So I got a percentage that was good enough for me to get retired with, instead of just getting separated. When you get separated, you basically get a lump sum payment. You get a one-time, I don't know, I've heard it's like maybe $40,000 for someone. It's, I don't know, E5, 10 years. Somebody out there help me out. But, you get a good sack of change. But what sucks is, and why you have to really pay attention to those TAPS classes when you start to get out, is that you actually have to pay that money back. You can get that money, but you end up having to pay it back. They take it out of your VA payments until that loan is recovered. So it's not actually like a cash payout. It's actually a loan. And I don't know about you, but I don't like going into debt in the government if I don't have to. So, I mean, if you're in a position where you're about to buy a house, or you have, if you're in a position where it makes sense, if you got school loans to pay off, or car notes or credit cards or whatever, it's a good way to get yourself back to square one, just taking that separation lump sum. But if you don't have to, I have kids, I would rather take the pension, and plus you get the insurance, which is really the main point of it. I have kids that need treatment for things, so that was very important to me. So that day that I went in and signed it, I said, hey, how do I get to stay in through my PRD, my projected rotation date? And they basically told me, like, well, you can apply for PLD, but it's not likely to happen. And which reminds me, because the guy I spoke to, the civilian, was very, very negative on it. He was basically like, well, you can do it, but I mean, you're probably not going to get it, so I wouldn't even bother with it. Well, now I got to take my little paper that says it was approved and show it to him and say, well, yeah, I got it. So, don't be going around telling people to not even try. They should definitely try. I mean, the worst they could say is no. So, this was in January that I went in and finally signed the document to say that I can't fight it any further. And that same day, I put together my chit. Well, I started putting together my chit for PLD, for permanent LIMDU. So I had some my department head at the time write me a nice letter saying that, yeah, we want him here. He's a good sailor, all that stuff. Sent some letters from my chain of command letting them know that, yeah, they do want me to stay. So that had to get routed all the way to the CO of my base, which wouldn't have been a big deal if it was at China Lake. It would have been there by the end of the day. At Balboa, it took about a month to go through the entire chain of command all the way to the CO's office. And I don't think it was even the actual CO. I think it was the XO acting in the CO's place, which is fine. That happens all the time. It's not a big deal. But so around the time I get the phone call to come and pick up the chit because it's already been signed, that was around March, because I thought that was it. I was like, oh, cool. It's March. I'm set to get out of the Navy in April. So, okay, we should know something, So we got a month. So while this is all going on, I mean, we can't just stay stagnant. It's January. January. I signed the paper. We find out that my last day is like the end of April. So okay, we got and at the time I found out, I think it was like 60 days. I'm like, oh shit. So we got to get rolling. So we wanted to be able to buy a house, but that close and with COVID going on, we started looking, but there were no guarantees. And in Southern California, man, housing is just the worst, man. It is so hard to find, a house. So we started looking at buying a house, and we started looking at rentals. So we ended up just kind of saying, okay, well, we're not going to be able to buy a house that fast. 60 days, it's not a lot of time. So we ended up finding a rental. I'm like, okay, so great. Around the time we secured the rental, I get another email saying, hey, actually, your last day has been pushed out to July 27th, like the end of July, which, okay, that was great, because that April was one of the worst months of 2020 for me, or 2021 rather for me. I'll make another video about this. You guys remind me and leave me a note in the comments. I actually got COVID in April, and that just sucked, man. I had the worst time with COVID, I won't get into it now, but I'll talk about it some other time. But anyway, so that happens. Now we're in the end of April, we're in the end of, I think we were in the end of, we were in like mid-April at this point, and we find out that our last day is now going to be the end of July. Okay, so that's great. So instead of taking the rental, we had to do a little bit of weasel work on the rental. But anyway, we end up going full steam on buying a house. And Bruno, if you're watching this right now, we appreciate Bruno and Marco, actually, guys, we appreciate all the work you guys did. And I know you guys are, Bruno, you're still active. You guys helped us out a lot. They helped us get a house, and the house that we ultimately bought, but we'll get to that in a minute. But so now we've got more time. So, okay, let's put all our efforts into buying a house. But we still haven't been approved or denied for PLD. So we're still waiting on the word for that. So, we're looking and looking and looking and looking, and every week we're buying we're looking at houses in Southern California. God, I don't know who the hell would put up with this stuff. I mean, we're literally putting bids on houses without even seeing them. That's how bad the market is out there. We basically have to imagine going fishing with 9 fishing poles and casting them all at the same time. That's basically what we had to do to get a house in SoCal. Ridiculous. And not even like in San Diego. It's a little further north. But anyway, that's what it was like. So while all this is going on, we're still waiting for the word from PLD. And I get a glimmer of hope, because a very nice lady from PERS, we call it PERS, the Navy Personnel Office, which is like big Navy. That's like way up there. When you talk about PERS, you're talking about like admirals and captains and stuff like that. So I get an email from them basically letting me know that, okay, your chit is basically in our office. It's where it needs to be, and you can contact me with any questions you might have. Cool. Although I'm sure that lady she probably was frustrated by the fact that she told me I could contact her anytime I wanted, because that's exactly what I did. Every Monday and every Friday, I sent her an email. Hey, have you heard anything? 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 And God bless this woman, because I know it wasn't up to her. And, you know, I knew she was just doing her job. And with COVID, I know a lot of times she was working from home. So it was tough. But she kept letting me know, like, hey, listen, I'll let you know when I know. But right now, I don't have anything to tell you. So, I mean, you know, you can't argue with that. I mean, you know, it's all she can do. So, but the time is ticking down. It's getting closer and closer and closer and closer. You know, we're getting into June, July now. So it's like, well, shit, what are we going to do? So we find a house, you know, and the big, I haven't even mentioned this yet. The biggest thing that's weighing on my head right now is my son, my eldest son. He's 17. He's about to start his senior year of high school, and I really, really don't want to have to move. I don't want to have to move my son out of school into a whole other school for his senior year. That fucking sucks, man. I mean, come on. You know, he's a military brat. We did a lot of moving around, you know, China Lake, Texas, Guam, back to California. You know, he's been a trooper, and he's hung in there. And I want to be able to do this for him. Me and my wife wanted to be able to do this for him. Let's get him in a position where he can just finish school with his buddies. You know, I'm sure they'll have some kind of party and stuff like that. And you don't want to be at some graduation party with a bunch of kids you don't even know. That freaking sucks. So that was a big chunk of this. So, you know, I love my kids and I'll do anything for them. So I wanted to get this done for them. So, like I said, we're getting closer and closer to this end date in July, and I'm still not hearing anything. I'm like, how is this possible? It's crazy. I'm not hearing anything. So finally, I just say, okay. I think it was like July 23rd. I could look that up, but it was close. Very, very close. So it's like July 23rd, and I'm like, all right, well, I mean, everything is in place now. I got the movers ready to roll and pack us out. I got, you know, we're throwing stuff away. We're getting stuff together. I mean, we're like we're going to move, you know. We're about to close on this house. We were going to pay one more month on our house at base housing just to get us through, because we were going to move in on September 1st, and that was going to be it. That was going to be a done deal. I mean, I got my VA claim already. You know, I got people telling me, hey, listen, your DD-214 is going to be ready on this date. You can pick it up. I'm like, this is it. I'm out. You know, a couple of days. You know, I'm glad I did. And in hindsight, I'm glad I didn't go around, you know, dishing out one finger salutes to all the people I didn't like, because what happens next, 4 days before I'm ready to get out, and I just said to myself, I was actually on base, and I was sitting there saying, okay, you know what? I'm on base. Let me get my wife's medication from the pharmacy. I was here hanging out anyway. Let me just grab her meds, and then I'll go home. I had the day off, so I'm sitting there. I'm waiting for her meds, and I'm sitting down on this bench outside in the main campus area. I'm like, let me throw one last email out there just for the hell of it. I mean, it's 4 days from the day I get out. Obviously it wasn't approved. So I get on my phone and I shoot the lady an email, and God bless this nice lady at PERS, because she gets back to you like really quick. I mean, within the hour, which for military is really, really good. So, at first I was frustrated because she asked, like, what kind of PLD were you trying to get? Well, I was trying to get, you know, to this date. Oh, okay. So I was like, she's probably going to come back with, you know, whatever. So, you know, again, I'm sitting there waiting on her meds, and before I even pick up the meds, she sends me another email saying, hey, I've extended you to September of 2021. And I'm like, what? 2 months? Another 2 months? This is the third time I've been extended. Not the third time, the second time I've been extended, because the first time was just my end date for my med board stuff. That was the April date. Then they pushed it to July. Now it's September, and I'm like, damn, man. I mean, thank you for retaining me, but damn, I mean, because if you're not ready to get out, the Navy is not going to hold your hand. I mean, no employer is going to hold your hand. If you know that your end is coming and you don't have your shit together, you only have yourself to blame. You're an adult. You're expected to act like one, and that's what I was doing. I mean, I had a house. I had school. I was actually just registered for my classes earlier that week. I was going to go to school and start my nursing degree. I was going to do all this stuff. I was ready to be done. And then she says another 60 days? Are you crazy? So I was already pissed off. Because the first day of school was supposed to be September 7th. Now my last day in the military is going to be September 27th. That's 3 whole weeks. So I was thinking, okay, push comes to shove. I could always, use 3 weeks of leave, do a terminal leave situation, because I was going to sell back all my leave because I have like 70 days of leave. But I was going to sell back all my leave and get them Cheddar Bay biscuits back. But, if it means for school, then yeah, I can just, say I'll take 3 weeks as terminal leave and I'll be in school and it won't be a problem. But now it's like, because they still haven't said whether or not I have been approved for PLD. And I'm like, how freaking long does this take? This is ridiculous. I applied back in January. This is the end of July. Holy shit on an altar. This is ridiculous. So, but what can you do? Now it's official. If it's coming from PERS, it's official. It's not like you can say like, oh, well, I changed my mind. No, dude, you're in. You're in for another 2 months. So I didn't even touch it. Everybody was telling me like, hey, listen, man, you got extended twice, man. I would take it as a gift. And I was trying to look at it that way, but it just threw a big monkey wrench into all of our plans. Because now, if we'd gotten out at the end of July, it would have been a lot more seamless, because then we wouldn't even have to put the kids in school. Now we have to put the kids in school. It's, going to go through August, so the kids are going to be back in school. So now we got to pull the kids out of school, transfer, do all that paperwork, put them in a new school. The 2 little ones are like first grade and kindergarten, and that's a whole new adjustment for them. It's just a big pain in the scrotum. So, it ends up being, this new date. Well, about 2 weeks ago now, I find out that I've been approved for the entire time that I asked for. So now my new end of service date, and hopefully final end of service date, is November 30th, 2022. I got exactly what I asked for. I got my final day in the Navy as when my PRD was going to be. Those 2 dates are now concurrent. I got exactly what I asked for. And I immediately regretted it. I didn't regret it, because it wasn't for me. It was for my family. And anyone in the military with a family, and there's a lot of us out there that are family men, no matter how your family looks, whether they all live with you or you have a different situation, whatever it is, we all have families, we all love them, and we all do this for them to some degree. And I don't regret it, but the future does look a little bit bleak, and it's let me know that I am really, really, really going to have to focus on this next year, really, a little year and some change, because I realized just the other day, actually, that, I'm a second-class petty officer. I've been in it'll be 11 years this coming March. And for the next year, I can't do anything. I can't go to another department. I can't apply for any new programs. I was going to be an IDC. That was going to be my next. I was waiting to make second class and fulfill my obla-serve with radiology, and I was going to be an IDC. That's out the window. So, I was going to be a nurse, if I was going to do nursing, I was going to get out, get my degree, and come back in, because I don't feel old, but, I'm 40. Oh, I will be 40. And once my radiology obla-serve was complete, I was only going to have like 2 years, I think. 'Cause I think it's like 42 that you have to, that I think the cutoff is. You can always get waivers, but you have to be 42 or under to do the enlisted to officer program for nursing. So it was probably going to be a better situation if I just got out, used my GI Bill, and get back in as a nurse. But that's out the window. So all I can do is get up, go to work, go home, and do it all over again. And that is probably the most demoralizing, soul-crushing thing I can think of. I have to sit around and watch everybody get promoted. I have to sit around and watch everybody go to amazing places. And it's just put everything into perspective for me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know there's going to be better things on the horizon, you know. At least I choose to believe that. You know, you could choose to believe that the future is bleak and everything sucks. Or you can, you know, stiff upper lip and, you know, try to be more optimistic about it. And I usually try to be more optimistic. But still, the fact that I'm going to have to you know, come to the same job over and over again for a year, knowing that nothing I do matters, is really, really heartbreaking. And I've said this in my other video, I was already 5 miles down the road, you know, when I heard that I was going to be going up for med board, or even when I heard that I was going to be unfit for duty. I was already way, way down the line. I was already an IDC with a Marine unit, already made first class, going up for chief. That's where I was. And it's like you get the rug pulled out from under you before you even have a chance to, you know, really get going down that road. I mean, I just completed my oblaserve. You know, because I was supposed to be in Guam for 4 years, and that got cut short because of my LIMDU. So I just finished my oblaserve a little while. Well, it will be finished in January. You know, just a couple of months from now, and you know, it really is hard to look at the big picture sometimes. But you know, the only thing that I can really focus on that I know is going to get me through is my family and my buddies, you know, because there are some really, really good people I work with, some good leaders, some good partners, some good friends, and those are the ones that are really going to get me through this next year. It's going to be tough, but you know, I've got some good leadership right now. In fact, we should be getting out around the same time. I've got some buddies that are good right now, and you know, that's sometimes all you can look forward to. And then of course I got my family, my wife, you know, my mom's here, my brother's here. You know, I've got a pretty good support system. And if any of you guys are watching this right now, thank you guys, because or maybe I shouldn't thank you just yet. Maybe you should wait until it gets closer to the time I get out. But seriously, I mean, and I watch a lot of Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan always has, you know, Navy SEALs on his show. And what one of them says, actually a guy named Andy Stumpf, it's a really good podcast. He said that you need to keep your world small. And I didn't quite understand what he meant at first, but then it resonated with me. You know, keeping your world small, you know, you can look at, I've got 450 days left in the Navy. I could look at that huge pie and look at that, man, I got to eat this whole pie. Or I could look at it like I got 450 slices of pie that I have to eat, and I only have to eat one of them a day. So that's the way I'm going to choose to look at it. So, you know, this day was the first of many, and you know, I got in the Navy knowing that I was going to give it my absolute best shot. And if there's one thing I'm not going to do on my way out, it is let anybody take that away from me. Because I know I'm a hard worker. I know I'm a good sailor. So if it means I got to go out, I'm going to go out swinging. So I'm going to go out with class. I'm going to go out with dignity. And if I'm lucky, I'll go out with some good friends too. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast today. If you did, like, share, and subscribe to BJBL Unleashed. Follow me on Instagram while you're at it. And I'll see you guys later for more Unleashed.